was a Ukrainian waltz. You can never have enough waltzes. The last tune was a Ukrainian waltz.
Ukrainian, oh, wonderful.
Called a Bandura waltz. Okay. Okay.
Okay, now that Sally Jo has navigated her way safely, my dear friends, a very, very heartfelt welcome to you. Let's do a few ohms, deep breath. One more time. And now, as is our custom, I shall ring this bell, which means, and you've heard this hundreds of times, you are glued to your seats. But you can, if you want to use the sanctuary for release, it's straight this way. Okay, my friends, now you're glued to your seats. Okay, Sally Jo, Divine Feminine. Am I right?
Maybe they played the music, all right. No, the ancestors. And good morning, I'm Sally Jo. Welcome to Interfaith Community Sanctuary. Chris has offered to do our opening invitation of our ancestors and honoring our first peoples.
Good morning, and thank you, Sally Jo and Jamal, and I'm glad to be here on a day to see so many wonderful friends from not so far past, but I'm glad to see everybody today. Thank you all for being here. I know Madani and Alan back in the back too. Hi, Alan. We have a good reunion today. But I'd like to invite our ancestors. So in addition to all of our wonderful souls, think about those who might have brought us here today, those who in our lives might have helped us be better people, or maybe help us to understand that maybe going down a different path wasn't the best choice for us, that also helped us be an ancestor. I'd like us to think about all of these souls, all of these characters, maybe from books or sacred stories, might have come to your mind and your heart today. Let us think about these individuals fondly and welcome them into our space. Blessed be. Also at this time, I think it's important to not just think about our ancestors, but to think about our descendants and to recognize that our actions do and may have very influential consequences to our, not just our future selves, but those who come after us, and those who come after us may look at us as being their ancestors. So I'd like to think about those in our lives who, whether they're related to us by blood or in any other way that we may be influencing them, think about them to welcome them into our space also as our descendants. And to that I say, blessed be. My last honor is to acknowledge that the first peoples of this land weren't necessarily looked like us, however you want to term that, but there were many other tribes and cultures that came through here. A lot of the folks in this Puget Sound area were called the Coast Salish people. You may think of the Duwamish, the Muckleshoot, the Tinglet. There are many, many other tribes and names of cultures known and unknown to me. But I'd like to have us acknowledge that they were here before. They had taken much in the way of sacrifice and struggle to make this land a viable place for them and to hold it in trust for us who are here now. But in thinking of the Native peoples, I'd like to have us try a prayer that my spiritual sister, Sisinque Laurel Boucher, has taught us, and she has suggested we put our hand on our heart, gather together, not just people and events, but other experiences that create us and help us be more human. Gather those together in our hands and our hearts. And as we think about that, we're going to raise that up to the Creator, offer that as a gift, and maybe the Creator may have a gift for us that we'd place back in our hearts. So, and as we raise our hands, we're going to say the sacred word, oh. Okay, so very good, you're doing great. But I'd like us to do that together if you could. So again, deep breath. Oh, blessed be. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And again, welcome to all you wonderful people who are here celebrating with us today. And I always think of Sunday morning as a very special time to celebrate community and being together. And I have the honor of making an offering to the Divine Feminine this Sunday. And I always think of Reverend Karen Lindquist, the co-founder and former co-minister of Interfaith Community Sanctuary. I always think of Reverend Karen when I even say the words Divine Feminine or when I do a reading, because she's the one who introduced me to the concept of Divine Feminine. And through the years that we worked together, I was so fortunate for 20 years to be basically a student of hers by coming to this sanctuary. And she taught me so much and opened so many doors for me about what does that really mean? What is the Divine Feminine? And I don't think there's any answer to that, certainly no one answer to that. But she helped me ask that question and find so many different answers to it, which I'm still discovering. And for example, I look at the moon, and I always think of that as my personal symbol of the Divine Feminine, which I learned, I remember one Sunday she asked us to find a symbol of our own that could always remind us of the Divine Feminine, and I had no trouble doing that for some reason. Sister Moon was right there. So this is a poem I'm offering from Saint Teresa of Avila. Her heart is full of joy and love, for in the Lord her mind is stilled. She has renounced every selfish attachment and draws abiding joy and strength from the one within. She lives not for herself, but lives to serve the Lord of love in all, and swims across the sea of life, breasting its rough waves joyfully. Amen. Thank you. And now we have some more music to get our spirits raised again.
You might know it. Feel free to sing along if you know the words. Where about in ballad will you see an accordion on the sanctuary floor? was not a mistake, that was a variation. Anyway, thank you. Do you want to try another one? Arabella?
No.
No? Okay.
Good while you're ahead.
While you're ahead. Thank you. Thank you. We had it in the living room.
Thank you so much, Brigitte and Phil. So let's once again do one Om, deep breath. And once again, a very, very heartfelt welcome to you here, and also to those who are on cyberspace. Salam, shalom, namaste, peace. Thank you for being on this wonderful online. So my friends, let's do just one maybe chant. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Just the beloved women. Just the beloved men. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Family all together. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Once softly. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Twice aloud. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Another wonderful insight from all the traditions that when we praise divinity, when we praise God, Goddess, mystery, spirit, God doesn't become holy, we become holy. So it's a wonderful practice to chant remembrance of that mystery. Okay, my dear friends, so the topic today, if I understand it, is the sanctuary being a repository for blessings that really infuse this place. And this place, some of you might know, Interfaith Community Sanctuary, this building here, is the oldest wooden frame building in the Pacific Northwest. Am I right? Church, the church, yeah, that's right, church. Older than I am, 1890, 1890. That's quite old, yeah. So when I think about blessings, the first thing that comes to my mind is ancestors. We bring the blessings of the ancestors, of all those ancestors that have been in this room, this entire church building, and have passed on, teachers who have come, teachings that have come, the wonderful learnings that we have received over 135 years here. So the first thing that comes to my mind is, can you think of a blessing that you received from your mother? Meaning, when I think of my mother, of course, very loving. And by the way, if your mother was not loving, just think of somebody who is motherly, alive or dead. But the first quality that comes to your mind, because you embody that. So for me, when I think of my mother, besides lovingness, the first thing that comes to my mind is she was so intuitive. Almost like intuition plus. And as I'm speaking, I'm remembering when I was about 4 years old or 5 years old, we were living in Burma. My father was a diplomat. That was his first posting. And I remember, even at that age, a commotion, a lot of pain. And what was that about? Later on, I learned that one of my parents' best friend, a young man, a diplomat, they had gone swimming, and they all went in the water, but he never came back. And there's a lot of grief, and because he's diplomat, there was, the authorities had all the search and this and that. They could never find the body. And there's a lot of pain that they couldn't find the body. But my mother, who was in deep grief, received a message, and she led the authorities, and I still remember that as a child, the joy. She led them to the exact spot where the body was washed away. So I always remember that about my mother. Oh my goodness, she's so intuitive. So then later on I learned that there is a learning we can all connect with that is beyond book learning. You've heard this many times. For example, Rumi says, how do birds know how to make nests? How do spiders know how to make webs? How do bees know how to collect nectar? They did not go to university or graduate school or centers. Where did they learn that? There is a different kind of learning. My mother had connected to that. I don't have that, but it is part of my DNA. So I ask you, what is it about your mother, a particular quality that splashes in your heart? It's in your DNA, and you bring it here, and you grace it. You infuse this place with that energy. So just be with that. What is one quality about my mother that splashes in my heart? Or is somebody who's motherly? And just by you being open to that, me being open to that, as I say, I infuse this place with that vibration. Okay, father. About father, what do I remember? Among many loving qualities, he was probably in my life that I know among people, the most optimistic person. Extraordinarily optimistic. And and his children have really received that in many ways. So when I think of my father, I think of the wonderful story I love to share, the Zen story. On a moonlit night, the monk's house was burned to the ground accidentally. And all that the monk does is look at the moon and says, finally, a perfect view of the moon at night. Finally, a perfect view of the moon at night. That sense of optimism. You know what, if you read the Book of Joy, that the late Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama, they say, there's bound to be suffering in one's life. It's a world of opposites. There's bound to be suffering. It's a world of opposites. Long is defined by short, high by low. There'll be joys, there'll be sorrows. But the way we eventually reframe our sufferings. See, the main thrust of the book is the way in which we reframe our sufferings. It shapes our character. And the famous word in the book is, it sculpts the destiny of your life. It sculpts the destiny of your life. How have I reframed my suffering? By the way, it doesn't always work. As I'm talking, I'm thinking when my mother, she died unexpectedly. My father being such an optimistic person, we tried so hard to reframe my mother's death. No way. He died just in a few days of a heart attack, really of a broken heart. So just ask yourself, to return to the former question, about your father, living or deceased. What is something that splashes in my heart? It's in my DNA. It's a gift you bring to the sanctuary right now. Okay, let's move on. Grandparents who are living or deceased. So let me start with my father's mother. So that would mean my, if my English is correct, my paternal grandmother. My grandmother from my mother's side. I never met her. She had died by the time I was born. But whenever I used to go to the village ancestral home, they would always talk about she was such a kind human being. And she was a healer who would heal with her eyes and with her touch. So I'm so surprised. Subconsciously, I always touch people, when I'm talking. It's almost like subconsciously. I don't know why I do that, but the only reason I know why I touch people, one lady said, Jamal, I know you're a good person, but when I was young, I was sexually abused. Please don't touch me. Then I realized, oh my God, I touch people a lot. And like my grandmother, I look people in the eyes. So when I think of my paternal grandmother, I think of that wonderful verse by the Prophet Muhammad who said, if kindness, if compassion was a thing of the created world, if compassion, kindness was a thing of the created world, there is nothing in the created world that could be more beautiful than that. So, how about you? What quality of your paternal grandmother do you embody or you're aware of? Just being aware of that blesses you. So just be aware of a beautiful quality of your paternal grandmother. Be open to that. You're being blessed with it right now. Okay, paternal grandfather. Again, I never met him. When I was born, he had passed away. But he was a very well-known spiritual healer and teacher. And what I heard all the time among the villagers, way after, a long time after he had died, even when I go back now, they talk about his work of healing with the mysterious jinns. Some of you familiar with jinn? This is mentioned in the Quran that besides angels and besides human beings, God also created jinns, from which comes this word genie. That movie, something you rub the lamp and genie appear. Yeah, Aladdin's genie. Yeah, or the word genius comes from jinn. And what is jinn? Jinn are people just like us, but they're invisible. They're right here. They're around us. They also marry, have mother-in-law, father-in-law problems, mortgage problem in the cosmic world. But they're invisible, and some are mischievous, and some are really good. And people who are sages, at least in the Islamic tradition, they employ the help of jinns to heal others. So my grandfather he was famous in his area for connecting with jinns to offer healing to others. So for me, when I heard that story, so how does that resonate for me? Wow, I realized it's such a mysterious world. And when I heard that, you might say, we all know it's a mysterious world, but that's a knowledge of the tongue. When I heard about my grandfather, I moved from what is called a knowledge of the tongue to a knowledge of the heart. It really exists. Like Rumi says, yes, there is traffic and trade in those invisible worlds. There is traffic and trade. That's why those verses have really stuck with me. The other one I remember, again from Rumi, flee not the invisible world. Flee not the invisible world, because it is a place of income. And this visible world, this place of more or less, is a place of expenditure. So, what is it about your paternal grandfather that you're open to receiving a quality? You embody that in your spiritual, physical, mental, emotional DNA. Okay, moving on to now maternal. Let's start with maternal grandmother, living or deceased. Now, she's the only grandparent I have connected with because she was alive when I was born, and she died when I was in my 20s. So, maternal grandmother, and she was, for me, she was an extraordinary woman. In her 30s, she lost her husband, and her extended family requested that, to support yourself, and she had many children, remarry. And she refused to remarry. For that, she was ostracized, and she lived in a very small town. And what is shocking to me is this young woman in her 30s, who is a widow, she had 7 children, and she managed to be an entrepreneur. And in the 50s, 1950s, unthinkable, she was able to send 4 of her sons overseas for education. 3 of them came to the US. Now you might say, big deal, foreign student, there's so many. In the 1950s, it was very rare to have a foreign student. But 2 of them got PhDs in America. One got an MBA in Arizona, and one got became an accountant in England. And the 2 others, she educated them in my part of the world. And my mother, that's my grandmother's daughter, she married her off to a very wonderful person, my father. So as from a young age, I used to watch her. What does she do? How, even at a young age, I realized this single lady is so capable. And she would be fully employed in the visible world. And I noticed that she did a lot of prayers and meditation. Very, very quietly. Never imposing it on her children. Never being ostentatious. She just retired to a corner and do her prayers. I watched her. She was so much connected to divinity. And later when I grew up, I read this insight by Islamic mystics that if you really want to be successful in life, fulfilled in life, joyous in life, over a lifetime, the secret is, they say, work equally in the visible and invisible world. Can you work in both worlds, visible and invisible? Are you doing that? Just ask yourself. That's what makes me complete as a human being. You have assurance or insurance for fulfillment, joy, completion. Okay, one last ancestor. A maternal grandfather. Of course, I never met him. He died when he was very young, but he was a lawyer. And what really struck me about him, as I hear my relatives talk about him, he really focused on being just, justice. And so there's one verse in the Quran that really has stuck with me. It says, be just, be just, be just. This is closest to being God conscious. Be just. This is closest to being God conscious. So in your life, how have you connected with your maternal grandfather? Just think of one. Be open to one quality that is life-affirming, life-bestowing. It's already in your DNA. Okay, moving on. I always think, like you were talking, Salijo, about Karen, late Reverend Karen Lindquist. When I think about her, there's so many things that come to my heart and mind, but the most important quality, I would say, is her almost fierce dedication to community. And what was community for Karen? Friends and family. And now that I have grown up and, I do a lot of studies, I read all these studies that say that, for example, that Harvard study, which I talk about quite often, 85 years old by now, the longest study about happiness. Or the Brigham Young University, by now I think 13, 14 years old, studying all the factors about what brings happiness in life. Is it yoga? Is it meditation? Is it traveling, etc., etc.? Number one is, in both the studies, Harvard and Brigham Young University, having wonderful relationships with family and friends. Doesn't have to be perfect. Reliable relationships. Brother Jamal, do you have reliable relationships in your life? With connection, that's right. That is the number one factor. Karen realized that. Her dedication to community, to her brother, to her sister, to her niece. It reminds me of this story, of the mullah story, who is a fictional character. Hi, Sylvester, there's a lot of space. The mullah is on his donkey, rushing to the marketplace on his donkey, and his family and friends say, Mullah, stop, we want to talk to you. And what does the mullah say? I'm so sorry, I cannot do that because I am so busy. Busy with what? I'm looking for my donkey. The caption is, aren't we all? And we forget real life is in those family and friends saying, Jamal, stop, I want to talk to you. Spend some time with your family, with your friends. Or whatever you call that, Rumi calls it with your circle of love. So just right now, ask yourself about my relationship with my family, my friends, or just call it circle of love. That is the number one factor, according to the studies, that'll bring me happiness in life. And Karen embodied that. Okay, very, very quickly, I'll make it very short. Who has walked through those doors who was a great enlightened teacher? For me, or teachers, there were two in my mind that stands out. One was in the 1990s when we were here, Sheikh J. I think, Chris, you'll remember Sheikh J, but very few of you will not remember him because you're not here probably at that time. But he was a great, you remember Sheikh J? He was a great Sufi master from Senegal. He was also a member of the parliament, a really enlightened being. So he was a Sufi teacher, had a large following, and he loved this place. He says, Jamal, this is a house of worship of the future. If you really keep at it. I love that American phrase I learned. Keep on trucking, keep at it. This will be a model for the world. keep at it. He was an enlightened being. So let me quickly say, what was it most I admired about him? The first thing that comes to my heart and mind is this wonderful phrase from the Islamic mysticism that says, the character of a wali means friend of God. The character of a wali, friend of God, is based on nothing more than graciousness and generosity. Jamal, you want to be a friend of God? Well, Brother Jamal, expand your capacity to be gracious, to be generous. The character of a wali is rooted in nothing more than graciousness and generosity. So ask yourself, in my life, how gracious, how generous am I? With family, with friends, with life. And how can I expand that? Okay, the other person I'm thinking of who really touched my heart, was an enlightened being to me, was Brother Wayne Teasdale. That Catholic priest, you might say, or sage, in my opinion, who passed away. They both passed away. Who coined that term, interspirituality, and that is going viral all over the world now. That you have to move even beyond interfaith. You have to now focus on interspirituality. So when I think of Brother Wayne, I think of this Rumi poem. And by the way, Wayne Teasdale, check him up. He has many, many books, lovely books, that have really gone all over the world. But I love the words of Rumi, who says, what is praised is one. So the praise is also one. What is praised is one, so the praise is also one. So many jugs being poured into a huge basin. So many jugs being poured into a huge basin. All these religions, all these songs, it's really just one song. The differences are just illusion and vanity. To me, that's a very important sentence, Brother Jamal. For me, the differences among religions, among cultures, among races, the differences are just illusion and vanity. I love the Rumi story of this very kind mother who, for the neighborhood children, she would bake cookies made out of flour, F-L-O-U-R, and sugar, but put them in different shapes: tiger, elephant, giraffe, horse, turtle. And the kids would come and they would grab this one or that one, elephant or the giraffe, and they would say, oh, this is elephant, this is superior to all of your other cookies. And the mother would just sit back and smile, because she knew that once they put the giraffe or the horse or the turtle in the mouth, it would turn into the same sweetness. Like my colleague Ted Falcon says, all religions are a path to a shared universal. So just be with that. Okay, very quickly now, I'll end with that. I've gone way beyond what I thought I would say. How about the teachings of religions? So I see here, for example, who am I seeing? So many different. Okay, let me start with Maggie here. She's a Baha'i. I don't know if you know, we did a lot. In the beginning, Karen was very connected to the Baha'i faith. Who can tell me one sentence that for you resonates about the Baha'i faith? For me, there's one verse that Karen was very fond of, that we used to focus on, that the Baha'u'llah, the founder, said that, what did he say? Something about all the nations of the world is just like one nation. And all the people in the world are just citizens of the same nation, actually. Do you have a better one than that?
You might be thinking of the earth is one country and mankind its citizens.
Exactly.
The earth is but one country and mankind its citizens.
The earth is one country, and mankind, humankind, are its citizens. So that's one thing about the Baha'i faith. Okay, what about Buddhism? Anybody have one liner about Buddhism? What splashed in your heart about Buddhism? We've had many Buddhist teachers here. Anybody? Yes.
Well, it's not a one-liner, but that separateness is an illusion and that everything is interconnected.
For me, there's an Islamic verse that's in the Quran that says, every soul where you turn is the face of Allah. It's all one, really. It's all one. And what I like about Buddhism, I love those sayings that have really splashed in my heart. The one by Thich Nhat Hanh about being present. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on land. Or the other one from Buddhism. Brother Jamal, when sitting, sit. When walking, walk. Above all, don't wobble. Be present. Okay. Baha'i faith, Buddhism. How about Hinduism? Brother Chris, you're a devotee of Many traditions, including Hinduism. Can you think of one? Should I give you time? Or?
All is Brahma. All is Brahma. That's as good as it gets.
All is Brahma. You see, he's talking about that. In fact, it's from Hinduism, unutterable, indescribable, and there's one more, inconceivable. You know, it's all Brahma, as my brother here says. I love that sentence from Hinduism about God. Brother Jamal, the eyes cannot see it, but it is that by which the eyes see. The mind cannot think it, but it is that by which the mind thinks. The tongue cannot utter it, but it is that by which the tongue utters. Okay, we've covered Hinduism. How about Judaism? Anybody Jewish here? Oh, my brother here, yes.
Thank you. So the thing that resonates for me, and due to recent loss in my life, is when one dies, a person commits themselves to Kaddish. And people think that Kaddish is a prayer for the dead, but it's not. It's actually a prayer for the living. And I think that's the duality that we're talking about here in all of our faiths. So thank you.
Yes, so duality. You know what I love about Judaism is, wrestling with God, asking deeper questions, really going deep. I love that verse by Rumi that says about God. There's a verse in the Quran that says, God encompasses all vision, no vision encompasses God. So Rumi breaks into trance and says, the lover visible, the beloved invisible. Whose crazy idea was this? Okay, what other really? How Christianity? Who wants to take anything that comes to you from Christianity? Yes.
God is love.
God is love, yes. God is love. By the way, what I learned most from late Reverend Karen Lindquist, she would always remind me. She would say, talk about this in every presentation, that all of life is about loving. It's about being loved, not being loved, and yearning to be loved. My life, your life story is all about being loved, not being loved, and yearning to be loved. The rest is all posturings. Native American tradition, anybody? Yeah, please.
So I am not Sioux, and I am not a speaker of the language, but I know one phrase, and it's Mitakui Oyasin, which means all my friends and relations. And I love that because it extends our relationship and our kindredness to all the other living beings.
Like Brother Chris said, aho! And I love the Native American tradition's connection to nature. I love the words of the Prophet Muhammad who said, the earth is like your mother. Honor her, protect her. Okay, my friends, I'm not paying attention to one thing. For example, in Taoism, how many of you have studied Taoism? Wonderful. One of the main thrusts teaching of Taoism is that the biggest problem human beings have, the biggest problem human beings have is that they just don't know when to stop. We're always overdoing it. And that is a big problem I have, even in my preaching or talking. So let me give just one example. In Tao Te Ching, there's an example of you stretch a bow, the arrow, keep stretching the bow, the arrow will go further and further, but if you keep on overdoing it, it'll break. So I'm going to quit right now. Sharpen your knife, it'll become sharper. Then if you don't stop, it'll blunt and break. So I asked myself, Brother Jamal, in what ways are you overdoing it? Well, I've gone beyond my time, so I'll stop right here. In a very compassionate, loving way, of course, yes. Okay, let's stop right here. I forget what's the next thing. Is it meditation? Okay, so let's keep it a very short meditation. Become very still, kindly. Close your eyes. Focus on your nostril and just inhale And exhale. Okay, letting go of that. This time, focus on the lowest part of your spine. That's the first chakra. Chakra means wheel-like opening. Focus on that first chakra at the base of the spine, and then make an intention that equals action in subtle realms for a beautiful cord of divine light to flow from the first chakra, going down, way down, deep into Mother Earth, connecting us to the womb of Mother Earth, feeling supported, connected, bonded, sense of belonging. Mother Earth supports me. I'm rooted. Okay, letting go of this, and now focus on the crown of the head, the crown chakra, and from that opening, any color, intend for a beautiful cord of light flowing from the crown chakra, but going up, way up, higher, higher, even higher, piercing those realms and connecting me to the heart of heaven. Feel that bonding connection to the heart of heaven. Feeling perfectly poised between heaven and earth. And now letting go of that. Lastly, focus on your heart. The heart is an amazing organ. In many traditions it is said that spirit, God, divinity is outside of me, but also inside my heart. The space of the heart is actually infinite. Spirit resides outside of me and inside the innermost chambers of my heart. Please do two things. This is my daily practice in my meditation, also in my waking hours. Focus on that mysterious space of the heart where spirit resides also. And tell your heart, I love you, with feeling, unabashedly. Or if you like, you are loved. I love you. Or you are loved. But unabashedly say it again and again and again and again. I love you. You are loved. Let go of this. And the second thing I do in meditation, waking hours, focus on the heart, the source of eternal love, empowerment, transformation, focusing on the heart and pouring out light and love. Make an intention to pour out light and love in an outward, expansive direction. And the more love and light we pour out, the more love and light we become filled up with. The ancients say it's a law, ancient and inexhaustible. Pouring out light and love, our heart opens up. Greater inner spaciousness. So much more space for joy, love, happiness to flow into us. pouring out light and love through intention. Try it. A few more seconds. Pouring out, radiating, emanating from that inexhaustible source, light, love. Okay, letting go of everything. Now let's together sing before opening our eyes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallahu. La ilaha illallahu. And now my request to my wonderful friends here to play some music.
The church was built by Germans that settled in this area, I think, and then also the city and the state were built by Scandinavian immigrants. And it used to be a museum. The Nordic Heritage Museum had a display for that, but they took that down, and so I'd like to reinstitute that. But this is an immigrant song called Nidelven. And I'm playing it for Lee and Anita, who are hopefully online. and that would be a song that he loves. And so anyway, think of the immigrants that built this city and this country.
The Ni River is in Norway.
Yeah.
So.
My dear friends, we're eternally grateful for any donations, only if it works for you. And may we pray that whatever you offer is returned to you manifold.
Put this down. There we go.
Thank you so much, Sally Jo. And once again, we pray that whatever you offer is returned to you manifold. And I'll request Sister Sally Jo to offer a prayer.
Also, a thank you to those online who have been giving and who continue to give their monthly donations, people who mail in. We do love and acknowledge the fact that we are acknowledged for the importance of the upkeep of this beautiful historic building that we've been talking about. And it's thanks to all of our donors online and in the community as well as here who give that assistance to us. And we thank you for that. And all the volunteer hours that are really translated into giving the same, even more so in a lot of ways than money, because it involves time and money. So we thank you for that. And Jamal, I have to say, when you were talking about Taoism, I thought of my favorite line from Taoism, which I would like to offer as we bless the money. And that one sticks with me, and it says this: compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sally Jo. Thank you. Sally Jo, I think it's still you, upcoming guest.
Yes, we also take a few minutes here to announce certain events and wonderful happenings that are going on in our community. And you know, this isn't just a Sunday morning operation, as most of you know. Besides our Sunday service every Sunday, which we do have, and by the way, next Sunday, our congregant Max Lewis is offering, he's a congregant who's been with us for a couple of years now, and he and his wife come frequently and sometimes are online as well. I'm sure they're online today, Max and Kathy. And Max is going to be sharing about his life experience and his life journey on the path of nonviolent spirituality, and the various teachers and the people he learned from along his journey. And it's going to be a wonderful service next Sunday. And we have events that go on every day of the week on a regular basis. Chris was mentioning Swinkle, who has her medicine circle here once a month. It's in person on a Saturday. Every week it's on Wednesday or Tuesday, with a online and in-person events. You have to check the calendar to see which week which is happening. And we have our upcoming gatherings on our website, interfaithcommunitysanctuary.org, and they're posted there. And you can also be on a mailing list where you'll receive every Monday morning what are the different classes and workshops. There are meditations, there's Rumi classes, and A Course in Miracles meets every week. And so there are many ways you can connect with your own spiritual yearnings and the teachings that you wish to pursue, as well as connect with people in the community who are like-minded and who can help you evolve, as Jamal always says, into the fullness of your being. And I wanted to mention David Wakil Matthews is offering a special end-of-life planning workshop. The next one coming up Saturday, July 26th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's both. It is online, and it's sliding scale, $20 to $100 depending on what you can pay. And there's a flyer here that has his email if you want to register for that, and he can give you the more details about just considering together the myriad choices you have to prepare ahead of time for your own demise as a gift to your loved ones. And that's with our friend Wakil David Matthews. So are there
20?
Any other announcements from congregants of special events coming up that I might have forgotten about? Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, my dear friends, we're coming to a close. We'll say goodbye to those people on cyberspace. Sayonara, bye-bye, salam, shalom, peace. Yeah. I have my routine saying, I always say, my dear friends, the real service starts actually downstairs, where you learn through fellowship. I always also repeat, there has been a lot of surveys about big presentations where wonderful people have wonderful speeches, and they always ask the people, what have you learned the most, and where did you learn it, with who? And almost everyone said, the greatest learning I've learned was during coffee breaks and lunch hour. But before we go down, anything you want to say before we go down? Yes, Brother Alan.
Hello, everyone. I want to talk about love, and I want to talk about Jamal Rahman and others. I see Birgit and Philip, and I've loved these two people for over 20 years in music. I see Karen, I think of Karen.